up a little further here, we have the main power button. This gives power to the fryer to start the heating elements, to start heating the oil and the startup process. It's just a toggle switch with an on and off. It can be turned off at the end of the day overnight so that we're not heating the oil through the night. And then when you come in the morning, the first person to come in should turn it on. It takes about 35 to 40 minutes to go through its startup process. So when they come in the morning, if we just push this on button, the fryer is going to make a little noise for you, go through its current software version, and then go right into the startup mode. The first step on the startup mode is the melt mode. All the fryers have a melt mode. There's no way to get out of it. And what the melt mode does is it was originally designed for solid shortening because you can't give full heat to solid shortening. You have to give it a little heat, turn it off, back on, back off, so that it doesn't burn the shortening. They also found out that giving a melt mode to liquid shortening extends your oil life. So this is a benefit to you, letting it go through the melt mode. It's going to make your oil last longer, and we all know oil is expensive. It's got little bars on the bottom here that will fill as the process progresses. The next mode after that is the mix mode. There is a small cold zone in the bottom of the fryer. When I say cold, I might mean 20 degrees cooler than the 325 degree heated temperature, but it's still a little cooler. So we'll go into the mix mode. The pump motor will turn on and mix the oil up so that everything's the same temperature. And then finally, it'll go through a top off. It's going to use this auto top off reservoir that we talked about earlier to get the oil up to the proper level for cooking. Once that's all done, you'll have an illuminated screen with all of your menu options. Once it's heated up, we'll take a look at those and go through those. Moving up to our board here, there's a few things I'd like to cover. On the bottom left, there's a small button that looks like a page of paper. That gets us into our different menus. And then there's another small button with an eye on it that will give you the current information of the fryer. As you can see, I push that and it shows us the current temperature of the oil. It's heating up pretty quickly. And it shows us the current pressure inside the fryer. When we're heating, there's no pressure, so that should say 0. And then up here, finally, in the top left corner, this cap screws off, and there is a USB port underneath the cap. We can use the USB port to either take our current programs off of the fryer and put them on another one, or take programs from an existing fryer, if you have two, and transfer them onto here so that we don't have to manually enter all of the data. Back down to this button with a page on it. If you push and hold this button until it beeps, it's going to take us into our menu. The first item in the menu is the filter menu. That is typically the only one you're going to use in this menu. But the others, there's an info mode, so we can look back and see if the unit is having any issues, if it's given any error codes, how long it's been used. There's all sorts of data we can get out of the info mode. The third option is the USB and data mode. That's what I talked about with this USB drive here. That's where you can go in and either put set points in or take set points off and put them onto a USB. You'll notice this green light's flashing above the page button. That means that there are additional menu screens. If we push that again, it takes us to 4, 5, and 6. Number 4 is programs. That's where we can go in and manually change or add cooking programs. You can set time, temperature, pressure, and a variety of other things in that menu. Finally, we have clock set and then number. This one's not numbered, it's just got an X. That's the exit. So you can either scroll down and use this white button next to the X to get out of the menu, or you can push and hold this page button until it beeps and it will take you back to the menu that it was on. So let's go back in for a minute and take a look at the filter menu. That's the one that's going to be most important to us. So we've pushed and held the button until it beeped, and the first option we have is filter number 1. If we push the white button next to filter, it gives us some more options. We've got 1 through 3, and you'll notice the green light's flashing again, so there's additional screens, but I'll go through each one. The first one is a quick filter. The quick filter happens after every cook cycle without the user doing anything. It automatically happens. It's going to open the drain valve to halfway, 50%, drop some of the oil out of the vat, and then turn the pump motor on and cycle the oil through the filter paper. That's going to help us to get contaminants out of the oil. Crumbs in oil is what breaks down oil. The more that stay in there, they break down over time, and then they damage the oil around them, and that causes our oil to go bad. So having an automatic filter after every cook cycle is once again going to extend your oil life. Oil is money. The next one we have down here is our daily clean. We do this once a day. You can either do it at the end of the day or the beginning. I will say that it is easier to do it when the oil is hot at the end of the day. This is beeping now because I haven't touched it in enough time. Eventually it's going to go back to the main screen, and then you would have to just push and hold the button again to get back in. If you're in this screen and it starts beeping and you're not done yet, you can just push to go to the next screen. It will stop beeping and stay in that menu. The next option down, number 3 in the filter menu, is the polish. We do this every day after our daily clean. This is a 15-minute pre-programmed filter of the oil. So once you go into polish, it will set a timer on the screen for 15 minutes. Your team does not have to sit there and watch it. It will go until it's done, and then it will fill the unit back up with oil. What the polish is doing is, again, it's removing as many of those contaminants as we can out of the oil. So it's just going to turn the pump motor on with the drain open all the way for 15 minutes and run the oil through the filter paper and get as much debris as we can out of there. We want to do this after our daily clean because it's after our daily clean that we're going to take that drain pan apart and throw that old filter paper away. So we want to do the polish before we do that so we get all the crumb out of the oil and then we discard it. The next option on here, number 4, is to drain the pan. So if you've dropped something in the oil, or for instance, a chicken tender floats out of the basket and it's just floating around in the oil, we don't want to leave it sit there burning all day and we're unable to reach it, or it's sunk down in the oil. You can use the drain to pan option to simply open the drain valve and drop the oil down into the drain pan so you can get whatever is in there out. The drain valve is just a ball with a hole on one side and none on the other. So when the drain valve's closed, it's got solid steel down below. And then when it gets ready to drain to pan or filter, a small motor simply turns that ball so that the oil can drain down into the drain pan. Once you've drained the oil down into the pan and you've gotten whatever you need to get out of there, we need to get the oil back up. We don't want to leave cold oil, or we don't want to leave oil in the pan overnight to allow it to get cold. It makes it really hard for the pump motor to move it. The pump motor likes to move hot oil. So once you've gotten whatever you need to get out, we need to get that oil back up into the fry vat. To do that, we would use the next option, number 5, which is fill from pan. So we've gotten whatever we need out, we would push fill from pan, and it would ask us to confirm to pump with an up arrow. We push the up arrow and it will turn the pump motor on and pump that oil back up into the vat until it's gotten all of it out of there. Finally, we have an add button here. So this auto top off we talked about, if it senses that the oil is low, it will try 8 times to fill it back up. If it doesn't satisfy the level probes inside the fryer after that 8th try, it's going to tell you that the oil level is low. You can add oil manually. So if you're cooking product after product after product without break, that auto top off function doesn't have an option to work. It needs to not have the unit cooking or pumping in order for it to auto top off. So you can go in and manually do it. If we use the manual button, we would have to push and hold the arrow and stay and wait for it. And it is not a fast, there's a smaller motor that fills from this auto top off. We would have to sit there and wait for it to fill up to the line. The better option, in my opinion, is to just give the fryer a break. If you give it about 5 minutes without cooking or pumping, it's gonna go ahead and do that on its own. Now, if it's gone a long time without filling, if it adds a small amount of oil 8 times and it's still hasn't gotten up to the level probes, it's going to tell you to check the ATO because it thinks that there's not enough oil in here. Chances are it just has a little more to fill. So go ahead and push the check mark next to check ATO and it will continue trying to fill and satisfy those level probes. If you get the error again, your ATO may actually be low and you may need to add oil to this pan. Number 7 on this menu is dispose. When your oil has reached its useful life and it's time to get rid of it, it's usually 10 to 14 days with this fryer, and we need to dispose it, we would use this menu option. When you push that, it will walk you through the steps of what you need to do next. If you have front dispose on your fryer, it's going to drain it down into the pan, and then it will ask you to confirm that you want to dispose. We would attach the hose to the front dispose fitting, which would be over here on this side, and then we would have a container to point that hose into, whether it be a frontline container or a bucket or whatever the case may be. If you're using a bucket, I recommend getting one with a lid, cutting a small hole in top so you can put that hose down in the hole so you're not getting oil splashing back up. The next option down here is clean out mode. We want to clean out the fryer at least monthly. I recommend doing it whenever you change the oil. The oil's already out of the fryer. It's just the easiest time to do it. When we go into clean out mode, we're going to make sure all the oil's out of the fryer. It's going to ask us in there if we want to purge the lines to get any oil out of the auto top off system into the drain pan. So we're starting fresh. We're going to fill the fry vat with water about an inch above the crumb line. If you haven't worked with fryers much, you'll soon see that no matter what you do at the end of the day, you're going to have a crumb line at the top of your oil. We want to fill to about an inch above that, and then use a cleaning product. We recommend the Henny Prime Cleaning product. That works really well. It doesn't have to be neutralized. You simply put it in either in the clean out mode, which raises the temperature of the water to 195 degrees for an hour, and then it will be drained. Or you can actually do a cold overnight soak. So you would just put cold water in, pour the cleaner in, and then let it set overnight, and you'll come into an easily cleaned fry pot. Once the clean out process is over, we need to get rid of that water. The best way to do that is to take this drain pan out and take all of the inside components out like we had it earlier, just an empty pan. Slide that back underneath, and as you drain the water, you're going to have to hold the button to open the drain valve. When you let go of the button, the drain valve is going to close. So what I like to do is leave the lid off, slide the whole thing in, and then drain enough water that you think you can handle in that drain pan. Again, it's on casters, so you can wheel it over to a mop sink, dump it in the mop sink, and bring it back over. It will hold all the water in there, but it's going to be really heavy. I recommend doing small amounts at a time. Once your clean out's done, all you're going to have to do with our product is rinse the pot. There's no vinegar needed to neutralize the product. We just give it a rinse with some water and dump that water out, dry it with some kitchen towels or paper towels, and you're ready to fill it back with oil and start fresh. And then finally, we have the exit portion. Again, we can push and hold the flashing page button until it exits out, or we can use the white button next to X, push that, and it's going to take us back to our main screen.